Ladies and gentlemen, this match is for the WNW. What is it called now?
Hey, let me do the real introductions here.
Okay, go ahead. Hello?
They're playing, Tony. I just need you to shut the fuck up.
Dragon. And who else but the Nature Boy would come to the ring with 40 ladies lining the aisle.
He's got 6 lead ladies there, 40 lining the aisles. I tell you, the lifestyle of this man never ceases to amaze. The one and the only. There's never been another one like him, and I don't suspect they ever will be. 5 times the world heavyweight champion, the Nature Boy, Ric Flair. Boy, he knows how to pick them, doesn't he, Jim?
Yeah, most indeed. Man, I lost my train of thought there for a minute, Bob.
Dude, Jim Ross talking about how, or Bob Caudle saying he knows how to pick them, and JR losing his train of thought. 40 chicks in the aisle, 6 lead ladies. So there's 46 women here, an entire modeling agency dressed alike to be with the Nature Boy. And you can tell bras were optional at this show.
Oh man. How many of them you think he really fucked that night?
None. I bet his wife was there. Let's see if we got Ricky Steamboat's entrance here.
And I'll be joining Lance.
Nope. We're talking about the hotline, and they raked in more on the hotline than they did on the gate by a multiple of 4. Process that. It's insanity.
Wow. Really?
Yeah. Here's the entrance for Ricky the Dragon Steamboat. Some interesting music. And this kid on a fucking horse.
Talk about
Oh God.
Dude, listen, I like the idea of somebody riding a horse to the ring. I think that's cool, but they've got a pony here with their son
And Annie Oakley.
and of course Bonnie is dressed in an evening gown. What is this? We're killing off Steamboat. Steamboat's not cool anymore.
No, you're right.
This family man shit, this is cool in real life. And if y'all were going down to Olin Mills, you're going to go swing by Portrait Innovations. You're going to go get some glamour shots. I'm for it. Let's put the kid on a fucking horse and let's put him on a camel after that. And then we can put him on a Ferris wheel. I mean, all that makes sense, but dude, Bonnie fucked him here.
I bet she did.
You know what I mean? Come on.
I know. No, I know what you mean. The want was, first of all, what Bonnie wanted, they did. That was number one. But the want was to show the difference between a really family man. Yeah. And a whore. Right.
Well, so you're calling my father-in-law a whore?
Well, I mean, if he comes out with 46 women, what do you think?
No, it was an entrance.
Oh, okay. Well, this is an entrance too.
How about the world title there? Tommy Young is your referee.
Yeah.
Man, Tommy Young holding the big gold belt. That just goes together like peas and carrots, doesn't it?
Yeah. Can't get a close up of it though, can we?
And here you go. Here are your judges. Of course, there's been a little controversy in that second match. So these are our dignitaries. They're going to be introduced to the live crowd here. Of course, Pat O'Connor, Lou Thez, and Terry Funk. And you had a lot of fun making fun of Lou a little earlier, but some of our younger listeners may not know, the reputation of Lou Thez and just the weight he carried in the professional wrestling business.
Well, and the truism is that didn't he wrestle into his 70s in Japan?
Yeah. He wrestled when he was old. What does that matter?
Well, I'm just telling you how great a shape he was.
Right.
And I mean, good God, wrestling into your 70s. And when they think about great world champions, Lou Thez is one of the people you think about, don't you? Sure.
I mean,
Flair,
especially
Thez.
when you consider, and I'm not saying this to be funny, but when you consider how long he was champion, he was the NWA world champion at a time when, the NWA was at their height. And, he first won the belt, and this seems crazy, in 1955. Really process that.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I could process. I wasn't even born yet.
it's unbelievable, his run. And he had from 63, when he won it in 63, he was the champ for like, I don't know, more than 1,000 days. I mean, that's insane by today's standards.
Well, just think about and to be honest with you, I don't know what it was back then in the early 60s, but just think about what it was compared to what it is today and how it was much more of a sport and less of a show. And your world champion had to be this really great wrestler performer that could give you a great match in the ring and could make it look real. And Lou Thesz was that guy.
Oh, I guess I should correct myself. He first had a world title run in 1949.
Holy shit.
Unbelievable. When you really think about it. I mean, if you're a young wrestling fan and you're not really super familiar with Lou Thesz, go check him out. 3 times NWA world champion, total champion. I mean, the total time with the titles, 10 years, 3 months, 9 days. So 3,749 days, longer than anyone else in history. And most everyone would agree, one of the greats of all time. And here we go. 2 of the greats of this modern era, 1989. They're innovating a lot of things. I think most people would agree these are the 2 best wrestlers in the world in 1989.
Yeah, they really are. And they're going to pace themselves to about 30 minutes here, which obviously these 2 could have gone much longer. I've seen them go 90 minutes, as a matter of fact, in a house show. 90 minutes.
The deep arm drags. And Flair recently was talking to me about these matches. Oh, and these slaps are real, son. Live rounds. But Flair said that, he wanted to switch something up for this 3rd one. He felt like they had done everything. And even Meltzer would comment that you got a lot of new stuff in here, not the same old Flair repertoire. So one of the things he's doing here is he's taking a lot of Ricky the Dragon Steamboat deep arm drags, which he's most famous for. That's one of his more famous, iconic signature moves, but Flair hated taking them, but he agreed to do it here because he knew they needed to do something different. Going to back him into the corner here. And the physicality in this match is off the charts. Meltzer's even going to say, for the first 17 minutes was spent doing an occasional awesome spot, intersped with Steamboat doing arm drags and working the left arm. The work was super stiff to the point it was mind boggling. From the 17-minute mark on, it was the best match I've ever seen live in this country. How about that?
Wow. Holy shit. They are fucking going at it, man.
Oh, and these chops. I think I'm going to play some audio from these chops. Here we go.
Steamboat misses with that shot, but not that one. Flair to the corner in the Irish whip. He's elevated up the line.
Man, Jim Ross in this era, like he's the soundtrack of the NWA.
No question. Wow.
You're seeing history made here. And what's cool is, you've got this great feud that really, and we're still talking about it all this time later. We should mention the first match is in February. The second match is at the beginning of April. The third match is May 7th. So 3 months, the thing's over.
But it has stood the test of time, right?
No, I'm not arguing that, but I'm saying, this is what the wrestling world's talking about.
Right.
And we're still talking about it all this time later, but it's all in a 3-month span, and they're going to seamlessly transition from Flair's issue as world champion with Ricky Steamboat to a new opponent. And I guess we should mention too, that I know you were saying, well, we're trying to compare and contrast, the carouser, the womanizer, the playboy against the family man. And we're trying to position the family man as the baby face. But at this point, because of his work and because, well, it's just cool. There's a lot of family men at home who are like, yeah, I love my wife and I love my kids, but man, I could get down with 46 chicks now.
Right. And you see the fans reacting to Flair as cheering him on here.
Yes, they do. And so that's my point, is because of his work and because they do like some of the character, even though that wasn't the original intent, Flair becomes a bit of a baby face. And as a result, they can transition to him and Funk and make Funk the heel. So it's just fascinating to me that, you know, even though Steamboat is just as talented as Ric Flair in the ring, because of the way his character has been positioned, Flair's going to move on to something else. And it's sort of all downhill for Ricky Steamboat from here on out. Three, two.
You're right, Conrad.
Thank you. What are you doing? You all right?
I'm just watching how Steamboat can just work on the arm and make it look so real. Just Flair's reaction. Let me tell my story here before this match gets, after the 17-minute mark. Good God. Great shoulder block take. There's that deep arm drag again. Flair and Steamboat, I may have told this story. If I have, sorry, I'm going to tell it again. Steamboat and Flair had one of their big angles at the studios in Raleigh, North Carolina. And the deal was Flair was taking Steamboat's face and rubbing it across the floor of the studio. And if you know the studio floors, they are rigid so the cameras can glide along it. They're just rigid at parts. They're smooth at parts, but they're rigid at parts. So they do the angle where they rub his face. So to make it look real, they go to a hardware store. Ricky's telling me the story. They take sandpaper and they sand off his eyebrow and they sand his face till it's bloody on one side of his face. All right. And if that's not enough, Harley races in the studio that day. And Harley says, "We need to make this look real, kid." He grabs Steamboat by the hair and takes his hand and hits him as hard as he can in his eye, to where his eye swells up. When I heard that story, I went, holy fuck. And that's what they did to make that injury look real. Can you imagine that?
Yes.
Get your face sandpapered, getting your eyebrow sandpapered off, and then have Harley race point blank crack you in the fucking skull.
Well, what they did is they took the sides of the sandpaper, like the tips, the edges, and they cut him with it. And then they scuffed the actual sandpaper, like the surface. So being cut with it, then being scraped with it, it's crazy.
Yeah. It's crazy. And it's something that you'd never see kids do in wrestling now. They wouldn't be asked to do it now because of what wrestling's become. But I just thought that was just wow. We had Steamboat on with us when we had our wrestling show on 92.9 The Game in Atlanta, and he told me this story. He told us this story. He had some great stories. Steamboat did. What a performer, man.
And, we mentioned, it was all downhill for Ricky Steamboat after this.
Yeah.
He's the number one contender for the world title, and that's going to irk Lex Luger, and they're going to have a dispute that's going to lead to a match. Now remember, this is May 7th. On June 14th, there'll be a Clash of the Champions, and Luger's going to turn heel, and he's going to stand over a fallen Steamboat and arrogantly say, "There lays your number one contender." And so Steamboat demands a no DQ match against Luger at the Great American Bash for the title. But just before the bell, Luger demanded the clause be dropped or there would not be a match. Steamboat loses the match by DQ after hitting Luger with a chair. And then there's a contract dispute and he's gone. That's his last major match in the company. So whereas he's the world champion coming into this match, he's really the main event. He is putting on some of the best matches of the year, 3 months in a row. Flair's going to move on and be main eventing against Terry Funk. They'll transition Steamboat with Luger, and just over a month later, things start to wind down.
They paired him with the wrong guy. I mean, you can't go from Flair to Luger. You just can't. I know Luger was a big star, but I'm talking about giving you great matches. You just can't do that. But who do you pair him with? I mean, who's next in line? Sting? Babyface versus babyface. I mean, give me somebody on this roster that Steamboat could have worked with.
I don't know. Well, who would you have done? I mean, what would you have booked him with?
I think we're saying the same thing. Who would you have done it with? There's nobody. So Steamboat was kind of caught in no man's land there, but there's no one else to work with. Maybe he and Terry Funk could have had a good match. I don't know. But he ended up coming back to us.
Yeah, he did. I guess we should mention he had foot surgery, and then he popped up for some North Carolina indies in the early part of 90. Right. In the fall of 90, he popped up in New Japan Pro Wrestling. And sometime in 91, he came back to the WWF, and this time they made him a fire-breathing dragon.
Right.
And that didn't last too terribly long. And then he popped up at the end of 91 on a Clash of the Champions. So his run in the WWF was short too. It felt like, you know, he couldn't really make long-term commitments to being anywhere in this era. And a lot of people, right or wrong, sort of point the finger at Bonnie on all that.
Yeah. And that's why I've always, talk about that. We joke about it. I don't know if it was true, but we all heard it that, she controlled things, and, for right or wrong, I guess wrong. And we all kind of laughed about it. And of course, one would think the marriage would have lasted, but it didn't. Do you know when they got a divorce?
I can look that up.
Yeah.
I don't know off the top of my head, but
she was a good looking woman, buddy. Wow. How about that drop kick that sent Flair on the outside? What a hell of a bump that was for Rick.
They married in 85. They divorced in 03. That was his third wife. He was married to Maureen Powers from 77 to 80, Deborah Blood, from 81 to 85, and then Bonnie Hastings from 85 to 03.
Wow. Another deep arm drag. Look good, don't they?
Dude, he's, it's his move. He owns it.
Here's the thing, and this is not a slight on, well, I guess it is a slight on anybody working today. You don't see this anymore. You don't see this anymore. You know why? They don't ask you to do this anymore. Flair can take that shoulder block. How about that? See the fans cheering Flair on there.
Yes, they are. They're behind him.
Yep. And they're behind him against a guy they have no reason to hate. Ricky Steamboat was always, great. Ricky Steamboat was always the babyface. There was no reason to hate him. Unless you were one of those people that hated baby faces because you thought heels were cool. And there were a lot of people out there like that. As the time wore on, they became more and more. I mean, in 85, 86, they loved the Rock and Roll Express. As time wore on, some of the guys started to boo them because, well, they weren't cool. Tommy Young doing a great job. Look at that. Tommy Young reacting to that shoulder block by Flair.
Oh my gosh.
Where's that camera shot?
I have no idea. Let's listen to these chops here.
And Bob, just as you said, Pat O'Connor, Lou Thez, and Terry Funk.
Well, I thought he was going to do some more chops, but it doesn't look like that's happening right now.
Well, here we go.
Very slow. And I thought, what are these random shots of the announcers?
I don't know.
Jim doesn't know either.
I don't know if Keith Mitchell was director, but if he was, we'll have to ask him when we see. Oh,
here we go. Let's see if we get some audio of these.
Flair perhaps changing the tide, changing the momentum.
This man, excuse me, Jim, but this man has been in so many great matches. He's got to know, he's got to believe that the tide is so far favoring Steamboat and that he's got to turn it loose.
Steamboat fighting back, though. The champion of the world, showing what he's made of.
Let me just tell you that one of the interesting things about wrestling to me is Flair is a master at throwing a punch and not touching you.
Yeah.
Like he perfected it. He's told this story before. He would tie a piece of string to like a lampshade and he would just practice punching it in his hotel room when he was a young wrestler. And he would keep punching it until it didn't move. And he still got it down 70 something years old. Like, you know, whenever he like fake punches me, I feel his fist touch my beard, but like no skin at all, but I can feel like something moved past my beard. He's still got it perfect. I'm saying all that to say though, it's fascinating to me that I'm going to be a master at almost touching your face, but then I'm going to move down 6 inches and I'm going to hit it as hard as I fucking can. I'm going to hit it as hard as I fucking can. And only in wrestling is it like, okay, now this, we got to get real close as you can, you know, by the hair of your chinny chin, literally. But then 6 inches below, man, just beat it up, hit it as hard as you can, wide open, full steam. It's amazing.
Yeah, it is. It is. Tommy Young did a great job there. Over the top. He said, match continues. And this was not a no disqualification match, right? I mean, in reality, per the rules of wrestling, I guess they could have thrown that out. So I don't know if it was messed up or not. Here we go. Had a big old person there in the front row.
Man, this is good stuff.
Oh man, it's great. It's
He's
great.
grabbing the lady's leg. Please help me. Please help me.
They are having, and that you'll be okay, Ricky.
Oh, he'll be fine.
Yeah, come on,
You
get back
can
in.
beat him. You can beat him.
Fuck.
She's talking
Yeah.
to that lady. Look, he's got his hand on my leg.
You know, Conrad, we watched it. There's kind of like Bill. He's checking out the women in the stands. See, you and I have watched a lot of shows. This is absolutely one of the best matches we've seen.
Oh, without question.
Yeah, it is. And Flair and Funk was great too. But man, look at fucking Steamboat come at him. Face first. Hey, atta baby. Second time he's done that. Why don't we do it again this way? Fuck, this is wonderful. It's one of these matches. I'm telling you this. It's second time he's done that. It's one of these matches that make you realize why you love wrestling. If you get pissed off at what you see on Raw or SmackDown, we're with you. Watch Wrestle War 89. Watch this match. You'll fall in love with wrestling again. It's like, you know, I've been doing now baseball for 11 years, and sometimes, gotta admit, baseball can be a little bit long and a little bit boring and a little bit monotonous. And there have been times that I have gone back home and watched on DVD the Kent Burns baseball movie to get my love of baseball back. I have. And I suggest that if you sometimes wane on your love of wrestling, put in Wrestle War 89 and watch this match. You'll love it all over again.
Talk to me about this Ken Burns baseball movie.
Okay, it's a documentary. It's like 9 episodes, and it talks about the history of baseball. It's a documentary about baseball, and it goes back in the 50s. It goes back to the early times of baseball. And they use music, and they use interviews, and they use guys, and it's just in pictures, and it makes you realize how much you love the game of baseball and how much I love it. So it just brings you back. It brings you back to your love of the game, and I think this does too. I know this does. Can you imagine? And I'm sure. Imagine when they used to back in the 70s worked house shows together each and every night they worked. Now, I'm sure they didn't do this for every show. I'm sure if they worked a spot show or two, like at Fishersville, Virginia, or somewhere in North Carolina, Ellerbe, North Carolina, or something like that, they didn't do a match like this. But Charlotte Coliseum, Greensboro Coliseum, Roanoke Civic Center, Richmond Coliseum, Charleston, South Carolina, the big cities in the Carolinas, shit, man, fans saw this all the time, or somewhat of a version of it, and they were younger. They were 10 years younger. Turn that phone off, son of a bitch. We're watching a match.
That wasn't my phone. That's 2 Chainz.
Oh, it's 2 Chainz. Dan, dan, dan. Okay. Flair just fucking slugged him on the back, man. He fucking slugged him. He's been chopping him, but he took a sledgehammer fist and slugged him right between the shoulder blades. Oh, man. Meltzer's right. After the 17-minute mark, these 2 guys are shitting and getting, buddy.
Shitting and getting, that's a Southern expression.
Yeah, it sure is, man. Kicking it into high gear, leaving no stone unturned. All right. Fucking fans are fucking into this. Here it is. One of the classic moves. Oh. Is this the match they're going to watch at Starrcast?
I think they're going to do Chicago.
Really?
You like Nashville better?
Oh, I like that. This is the best one.
You know, I was looking at your house the other day on Google Earth, and I saw that there's some listings nearby.
Yeah.
You know, there's that mobile home park, and they've got the banner out front, and it says "Live here, walk to Walmart and McDonald's." And I think that's cool. That, I mean, of all the things to market, you know, you're close to restaurants and shopping. You know.
How long have you waited to come up with that one?
No, that's real. I didn't come up with it.
Meanwhile, back at the match, look at this. Here we go. Oh. Fans, man, standing, thinking it's over. Up underneath. Tommy Young modestly said that Earl Hebner was the greatest referee of all time. And Earl Hebner's good, but Tommy Young's the greatest referee of all time.
Yeah. I can get behind that. Yep. I like Charles Robinson too. So the judges are giving scorecards based on what's happening so far, similar to boxing.
In case it goes the time limit draw, right?
Yes.
Right. Kind of like what we did in the first Clash of the Champions. But then again, we had Jason Hervey as one of our, and Eddie Haskell as our judges. And a girl that ended up swinging on the baby's arm.
Swinging on the baby's arm.
Well, very few can say that. Well, maybe a lot can say that. I don't know. That's there. This is an athletic competition.
Without question.
This is real. This is pro wrestling. This is what I remember. It's what I fell in love with. And by golly, I'm not going to step on any of the guys who are wrestling today, but you don't see this anymore.
Well, in fairness, a lot of them aren't given the opportunity.
That's right.
They've got a 4-minute thing on TV. That's different from 33 minutes.
That's right. 1, 2. And not only that, we're in the era of high spot, just to show your acrobatic ability and not sell and not fuck.
You know, they did that same spot in Chicago and it's still fun.
Yeah, it is.
You know, I think, you know, one of the things that's worth mentioning is, did Flair shit his pants? You know, you're wrestling the match for the live audience. And if that audience is reacting to chops and headlock takeovers and deep arm drags, that's what you keep doing.
Sure.
But if you're, you know, in the more modern era and nobody's getting into that, well, you try to turn the volume up. What can we do to get them into this? And if that means I need to do a flippity doodah springboard in your face, then I'm going to do a flippity doodah springboard in your face.
And I understand that. But today fans are just cheering the moves more than they are the match, the storytelling. And I get it. I understand.
Well,
listen, no time.
You know what? You know what's not in the crowd right here? What we're watching. You know what's not in the crowd anywhere to be found? Guaranteed.
Signs.
A cell phone.
Yeah.
Nobody's scrolling Twitter. Nobody's scrolling Instagram. Nobody's posting on Facebook. Nobody's texting. Like nobody's getting a call from their mom. Everybody has nothing else to do except watch this. All the eyes are on this. Nobody's looking down. Nobody's taking a picture. They're into it. And that, you know, what you're talking about, you know, they got to focus on high spots and not storytelling. I think there's a attention span deficit now compared to what it used to be.
Yeah.
We've all got so many distractions, but nobody here is, you know, thumbing through Instagram pictures. That's just not a thing.
Whoa, kicked out.
And now people pay a lot of money for tickets to go watch an event and they don't actually watch it because, you know, they paid to compete with their phone.
And I have even seen, I think we've talked about this before at ringside and a WWE event. I've seen even a jack off with a lavalier mic talking into it as the match is going on.
Why does he got to be a jack off, Tony? Look at that suplex.
Wow.
Why does he got to be a jack off?
He doesn't have to be a jack off. It's just the word that I chose. He's probably a good guy and he may like us. Who knows? But, so there was a guy, but I'm looking at it thinking, I don't get what you're doing here, dude. I don't get what you're doing. Watch the match, enjoy the match. That's why I use that term. You know, we talk so much about the selling and the chopping. It takes just phenomenal athletic ability and conditioning to be able to keep doing this the way they're doing. Now, I know they're only going 30 minutes. There it is. Fans think it's over. It's a big chop. Steamboat looking for a place to go. Great communication between Flair and Tommy Young right here. Tommy letting Flair know where he is.
Oh, what a nice story that was. So Steamboat's on the top rope, getting ready to do his big cross body block. Flair is woozy. He's dazed. He's stunned. He collapses into the second rope. That shakes the top rope, obviously. And when that happens, down goes Steamer. And he takes a tumble all the way to the floor. And Tommy Young is counting him out. Will our champion be able to get to his feet on a now injured knee and make his way back into the ring?
Change the complexion of the match here. Right when Steamboat had it all in his grasp. And again, just storytelling you don't see anymore because they're not asked to. Do you think, here's a bold question, and I don't know if I have the answer to this, but in your opinion, do you think a gaggle of writers have hurt the business?
Oh, look at this standing suplex, letting all the blood run to his head, then dropping him down. Yes and no. You know, I think a lot of the performers can understand, have a better feel for their own character than a writer would. And I think you can just sort of tell them, hey, here's what we're trying to accomplish, almost bullet points, and then just let them do their thing. But at the same time, some of the best promos we've ever heard were completely scripted. Like,
Right.
you know, you really loved when you actually got to see The Rock's promo earlier this year.
Yeah.
You thought it was one of the most entertaining things ever. Every word of it was scripted.
Sure.
So, you know, I heard Triple H years ago explain, you know, people say, oh, they don't want the writers. Oh, they don't want the scripts. No, what you want is a good promo. Like, what you want is for it to be good. So if it's The Rock and it's scripted and it's awesome, then scripting's good. But if it's Seth Rollins and it's scripted and it's not good, then it's bad scripting. No, it's either it's good or it's not. And I don't care how we get there. And I don't care how the sausage is made. Just entertain me.
Right. I think I need to really kind of rephrase this question. Here's what I meant. I've been in so many different meetings. I just feel like, and I don't know how many writers they have per show now. I don't, but I do know this. I do know that when you get a lot of people kicking around ideas, you do more kicking around than you do have to come up with ideas. And I understand that with writers, you do that. You sit down at a table. I mean, all shows have writers and they come up with stuff, but for wrestling, I just think that if somebody's got an idea, that's a good idea. Sometimes it loses its steam once it goes around the table. And sometimes I think you can put too many people in there and what becomes a good idea becomes muddled and thus is not a good idea anymore. And you wait. And then what happens is there's attrition. Then you've talked about it so far and, oh my God, we got so much more to do. And now you can't spend the time that you need on this angle or this match because you've wasted 4 or 5 hours on another one. And then people get tired. And I'm just freestyling here that sometimes the old way, and that's one thing that Dusty always said, the old way was the good way. I'm coming up with the ideas. I'll live and die with them. So just thinking out loud here.
I like when you think out loud.
Oh man, Flair just great storytelling. He had the knee hurt and he's just hanging on to it, absorbing the blows. Injiguri. Look at fucking Steamboat sell, man. Fuck. There you go. Knee was too much. And look at the crowd.
They're going nuts. And by the way, it wasn't a figure 4. It wasn't a big fancy maneuver. Steamboat goes for the body slam and Flair knows that that leg is weakened. He turns it into a pinning combination and he is your champion